Prior to the meeting between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin, the latter spoke at a plenary session wherein he criticized Western nations for destroying the global economy by disrupting financial and trade relations. Jean Domingo has the details.
Russian President Vladimir Putin voiced his concerns about Western countries damaging the global economic system they played a role in creating. He expressed these worries during a speech at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok. President Putin stated that some Western nations are causing harm to the international economy by disrupting financial, trade, and economic relationships. However, Putin also pointed out that many countries around the world are committed to working together for the benefit of all people, not just the wealthy few. These nations prioritize their own projects and aim to bring long-term benefits to their populations. According to President Putin, this approach is leading to the emergence of a new international model that is more inclusive and less focused on Western standards. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also highlighted the growing influence of groups like the BRICS economic bloc and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as more countries seek alternatives to Western-dominated international institutions. Lavrov argued that many nations feel the need to bypass these Western institutions due to grievances and sanctions imposed by the U.S. and European unions. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Jean Domingo, SM9 News.
Chile's President Gabriel Boric marked the 50th anniversary of a military coup which ousted elected President Salvador Allende and brought General Augusto Pinochet to power. Meanwhile, two Chilean congressmen have urged the United States to formally apologize and provide economic preparations for its role in the said coup. Francine Sagarino has the details.
Chilean President Gabriel Boric recently delivered a speech to mark a significant event that happened in Chile 50 years ago, the military coup that changed the country. On September 11, 1973, a group of military officers led by General Augusto Pinochet took over the government, ousting the elected President Salvador Allende. The United States backed the said coup. During a special gathering in Santiago, dignitaries sat inside La Moneda, the presidential palace, while others stood outside with signs and chanted slogans like "The United People will never be defeated." President Boric talked about the importance of remembering those who defended the country's laws and constitution when the coup happened. At that time, the military used planes, tanks, and guns to take control, which was an act of betrayal and rebellion. Boric also mentioned the need to appreciate the help Chile received from other countries during those challenging days. He said that the coup led to serious human rights violation against the people of Chile. The military coup in 1973 marked the start of General Pinochet's 17 rule, during which about 40,000 people were either arrested, tortured, or disappeared. Meanwhile, two Chilean congressmen have urged the United States to formally apologize and provide economic reparations for its role in the said coup. The two lawmakers conveyed their demands by sending a letter to U.S. President Joe Biden that was delivered through the U.S. Embassy in Santiago, Chile. Reporting, this has been Francine Sagarino, SM9 News.
Syria has accused Washington of illegally plundering its wealth and strategic resources in a letter to the UN demanding compensation from the U.S. Andrea Santos reports.
Syria has told the United Nations that the United States should pay for taking their oil and breaking international laws, and that the U.S. has troops in their country without permission and is taking their natural resources like oil and gas. Syria's state media agency SANA published an article citing a letter sent by Syria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, as well as Albania, which holds the UN Security Council presidency in September. The letter reportedly mentioned that Syrian diplomats urged the UN to put an end to violations of international law and the UN Charter by the U.S. for illegally stationing troops in the northeast and southeast of Syria. The Syrian ministry claimed that the U.S. and some groups are harming their country by taking valuable resources. They say this has cost them about $115.2 billion from 2011 to 2023. The letter concluded by Syria demanding American leaders be held responsible for thefts and that the U.S. administration be forced to compensate for them. The Foreign Ministry also wants the U.S. military to leave Syria and give control of the oil and gas back to the Syrian government. General Mark Milley, who leads the U.S. military, said recently that they will stay in the Middle East, including Syria. He said the U.S. is worried about groups like ISIS and wants to protect their interests, including oil. The conflict in Syria started in 2011 when some opposition groups protested against their president Bashar Assad. In 2015, Russia joined the fight against the Islamic State, or IS, formerly known as ISIS. The U.S. military started fighting IS a year before, but without Syria's invitation. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNA News.
Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson criticized the presence of the United States military in the Middle East and urged them to move out of the continent as soon as possible. Daniela Paulite has the details.
The military presence of the United States in the Middle East is damaging the peace and stability in the region. This is what Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani said at a press conference recently held in Tehran. According to the spokesman, interference by external forces, especially the United States in the Middle East, is not conducive to regional deployment. He also stressed that regional security should be jointly maintained by countries in the region, as the United States is only serving its own interest. He then called on the U.S. military to withdraw its troops from the Middle East as soon as possible.
نیروهای نظامی امریکا در منطقه هیچگاه به دنبال تامین ثبات و امنیت نبودند و در هر منطقه‌ای هم که حضور پیدا کردند، در هر کشوری که حضور پیدا کردند، نه تنها کمکی به تحکیم صلح و ثبات نشد، بلکه زمینه ساز ایجاد بی‌ثباتی و ناامنی در اون کشور و در اون منطقه شد. بنابراین
Asked about the late progress regarding the resumption of the implementation of the Iran nuclear deal, Kanani said the road to negotiations is not close, and Iran will continue to seek the lifting of illegal sanctions imposed by the United States. He also said that the U.S. imposed such illegal sanctions to safeguard its national interest. The nuclear deal refers to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. This deal was signed with world powers in July 2015. The deal aims to put some restrictions on its nuclear program in return for the removal of sanctions imposed against Iran. However, the U.S. pulled out of the nuclear deal in May 2018 and reimposed sanctions on Iran, which prompted it to drop some of its nuclear commitments under the JCPOA. Talks about reviving the nuclear deal resumed in April 2021 in Vienna, Austria, together with the representatives of Iran, China, France, Germany, Russia, and the United Kingdom. At that time, messages were related to American representatives because Iran reportedly refused to hold direct talks since the U.S. is no longer a member. However, no significant breakthrough has been achieved since the end of the last round of talks in August 2022. This has been Daniela Paulite, SMNI News.